today's podcast.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Ryan Alford. Welcome to the latest edition of the Radcast. It is the first week of December. Ho, ho, ho. We're getting close, as my wife told me last night. We've got to get the kids gifts, but I'm excited to have Alex Reed with me as a guest today. He is the CMO of Truman Soap. Good to have you, Alex.
Incredibly excited to be here. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, man. Excited about it. I'd heard you get through, seen you guys, seen what you were doing, and I know Riley, our producer, reached out, so I was stoked to get you on, and just really cool stuff you guys are doing. I mean, who knew soap could be cool, man?
No, what's funny is a lot of times people want to talk to me about a past role because the company name is so funny, but we'll talk about that later. But soap's fun too.
Exactly. Well, I do want to get into for anyone listening that doesn't know about the brand, we'll go there. But we like to start these, with let's talk about Alex, and what maybe building into Truman's and all that, of course. But let's just start right there with who you are and what you've been up to.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I don't love talking about myself, so I'll keep this pretty brief. But
oh, come on. Well, we're going to force you to. I'm going to push my zapper like I told you.
It's not much fun. No, I need my own hype man or something like that. But yeah, I guess I'm a classically trained marketer. So when you look back at my career, I started as an intern at a company that nobody knew of at the time, a sleepy manufacturer in Lexington, Kentucky called Big Ass Fans. You fast forward a decade and we can talk about things I did there, but the company was a huge success. I was part of a deal team that helped sell the company for $500 million, was running marketing at the time. So a lot happened, obviously, between intern and exit. But that was a really wild ride. And towards the end, I got to know one of the other executives and operators of the company really well, who had been brought on to shepherd the sale process. And he and I started talking about, doing something different, being a little more entrepreneurial ourselves. And that was where the idea for Truman's was born, which is the company I co-founded a couple of years ago and now run. And so, when you kind of sum up who I am, on the professional side, I'd say I'm a marketer. I'm an opportunist. I'm somebody that, the term is cliche at this point, but disruptor. I like to do things that are different and fun and exciting. And I'm just a perpetual learner. I'm always intrigued to figure out how things can be done better and ways things can be improved. And that's just sort of the mentality I take with everything. On a personal side, I'm an extremely boring personal life kind of guy, family, wife, kids. So, that's my social life. My hobbies are pretty muted outside of work.
Well, most entrepreneurs or executives are these days, if you're especially growing a company like this. I mean, so D2C is all the rage these days. And for good reason, getting that direct relationship with customers, changing the way stuff's done. I know that's definitely Truman's DNA. Let's transition right into it, man. It's such a cool business. I love all the branding and the marketing. So they must have some good marketing going on. Let's talk a little bit about Truman's. Like, what inspired the business model?
Yeah, that's a great question. And truly, Big Ass Fans is what inspired our business model. A lot of people don't realize that it was a D2C company dating back to the 90s and early 2000s. And it's interesting because that was business to business, but direct to business. If you're an industrial durable manufacturer, you're almost certainly selling through layers of distribution. You don't talk to your end customer. It's not how it works. And so from the onset, it was a disruptive company in the way it went to market. I launched our first consumer business there in 2012. That was also direct to consumer. And it was this virtuous cycle of getting to know the customer, learning their wants and needs, being able to develop more products off of that, and also having more opportunity to sell the business. The reason that company was so successful in the end was because it not only had a really large customer base, it had relatively low penetration within that customer base. So it was just continuing to mine, its customer base and build favorable relationships with those customers. So fast forward, when we first started the conversation about Truman's, before we even knew what it was, we knew that we wanted to have a business that was customer centric, and not in the way that sort of lip service, everybody says they're focused on the customer, but truly led with that sort of customer centricity. And, one of our pillars from day one was around customer service. My co-founder and I were the customer service team, as I'm sure is the case with a lot of early stage startups. But what we loved, and one of our favorite stories to tell, was, we turned on live chat one day when we were working out of a Starbucks just to see what would happen. Other than that, it had been email, contact form, and it just started buzzing. We started getting questions and comments from customers, and it really, I think it really reinforced why we wanted to start the business as direct to consumer, because there's so much value in interacting with customers, whether it's solving a problem, answering a question, taking feedback. There's a lot you leave on the table if you're not interacting with those customers, especially in those early days. And so I should probably back up and tell you that, Truman's is a direct-to-consumer cleaning products company, to give a little bit more context to this. So, we're selling surface cleaners and refillable concentrate cartridges and dish pods, laundry pods, products like that. And so you would probably think, which is what we thought, it's a low interest category, or maybe not low interest, but not very emotional. And so why would you need customer service? People know how to buy a glass cleaner. They don't need to interact with somebody. And we were wrong. I mean, I think people more and more are demanding to connect with real people, especially now in the COVID era, where these virtual connections are really a lot of what we have.
Yep.
But I think people, they realize they can buy a laundry detergent from virtually anybody, right? And so what are you doing to differentiate? What value are you offering beyond the physical good? And so I think that's true in a lot of categories. And, again, I think we saw it from a case study, and we were part of it in the success at Radcast fans. But we knew that there's a lot of effort to actually be customer centric. And so that was one of our kind of founding core beliefs when we started Truman's a couple of years ago.
I love it, man. There's a lot to unpack there, but I'm going to step back to where you first started, which I think is huge, especially, adding value to like our listeners and stuff like that. They say it costs at least 4 times as much to gain a customer as it does to save one or keep one. And you talked about the notion of penetration. I think that is such a huge play with people. A lot of people just think acquisition, when penetration within markets you're already in and seeing that is always such a huge opportunity. So I love that notion. What you guys saw at Big Ass Fans, I was blown away by that notion. Tell me, you had to have used that headline at some point, right?
Oh yeah. No, and we love puns at Truman's too. And look, it shows up in the numbers. I mean, when you look at Big Ass Fans when it transacted, now I'm a few years removed from the company, but over half the business was repeat. The consumer line that I launched grew to nearly 70 million in 4 years. And by that year 4, it was about 70% repeat. And that's because people were buying one fan and updating one room in their home, and then coming back the next year and doing another room. And what's crazy is about 60 to 70% of those transactions were done over the phone, which seems so old school. But when you talk about, actually developing a personal relationship, these customers wanted to talk to the person they had talked to previously and wanted to figure out what product, what finish, what size, all this stuff is going to be right for their space. And so, again, that may be on the more complicated scale of products versus a dish detergent, but there's always value in bringing humanity and personality into something that could otherwise just be transactional. And I think that's a big part of brand building. And a lot of times people talk about customer service and marketing and branding and selling like they're all different things, but it's all tied. And I would say you are costing yourself big time in the long run if you shortchange the customer service side of it.
Yes, absolutely. And I think what's interesting about D2C is there's always the C. and you guys started there. So talk about, I mean, what the innovation cycle for you guys, like what's so interesting is you've taken, like you meant, it's an everyday item, soaps, pods, cleaners, all those things, but and you've done it what seems with the packaging and everything else, which seems simple, but yet feels well thought out. I mean, what is kind of that innovation cycle? Was that part of the initial concept, or has that just come with each product release and different things like that?
Yeah, I think differentiation is core for us. Like it's tough to get our heads around selling a product that's 100% me too. Now, to contrast that just a little bit, I think a lot of times people think about innovation in an Elon Musk type sense, where we're going to dig giant holes underground in Los Angeles and radicalize transportation. But I think there's a lot of in-between area for innovation where you can incrementally improve things that we use and interact with on an everyday basis. And that has a huge impact when you're at scale. And to put a finer point on it, when you look at our core line that we launched with, which was a series of 4 spray cleaners, reusable bottles, and then we just send you the refills. We didn't invent concentrates. I mean, concentrates have been around for decades, and that's not a new concept. But what was lacking was really the elegance of the packaging, like you pointed out, where customers were having to buy big jugs of this or bags. They're mixing it themselves. They're pouring it. They're not confident that they're getting the right results. And so all we did was take a concept and improve the user experience, where it's pre-measured. It automatically dispenses when you twist your sprayer into the bottle. And so you're not having to worry about any of those issues. It's just a better customer experience. And if we can, get 5% of people that are using a ready-to-use bottle today to switch to this product, you're talking about hundreds of millions of gallons of water not being shipped around the country, bottles not being tossed into landfills. It's these small little incremental changes that can have a huge